Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Today we're going to be talking about fire safety with our friend, colleague, Mark Malekish.
Happy to be here.
Mark, welcome back and appreciate your time as always. Today we are going to be talking about celebrating the holidays by staying fire safe. It was a press release that was put out by Ready Wisconsin and to be safe for the holidays. And I think when I think safe for the holidays, fire department is the first one I think of. Sure. And we kind of talked a little bit about this when we were getting into the Thanksgiving season of cooking fires and stuff, but it's still the time of year that, to me, it's fire safety.
Yeah, it is that time of year. It's unfortunate that we have to, bring in a little bit of serious subject to what is usually a really happy season, right? But we do have to be careful because this time of year is when we do see the most fires.
Well, and if you really think about it too, like you're pulling out, if you're into the Christmas light thing or the holiday lights or the whatever lights you want to call them, and you're bringing those out and you're checking those strands, you're putting up decorations, you're getting those fancy candles. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of things that are red flags right there of fire safety in mind.
Not even just to step away from fire safety for a second, that might be the only time of year some people get on a stool or get on a little stepladder. So just trips and falls can be a problem. But by and large, we want to make sure that everybody's putting their decorations up safely and making sure that any of their electrical that they're plugging in, any of the lights, make sure they're following manufacturer's guidelines. Make sure they're buying quality products. Sometimes the cheapest isn't the best, right? So we want to make sure that any products we buy for Christmas lights or decorations is tested by a third party. Usually that's Underwriters Laboratory.
Look for that UL piece on there, and we'll talk about that. Well, let's take a look into the home, and right away, you're thinking if you put up any type of tree, and truly, I've kind of gotten into more of the notion, too, that whether you buy a fake tree or you're going out and picking up a real tree, both pose hazards.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Let's start with the real tree. So, if possible, fresh cut your tree. Go out and cut it yourself. One, it's more fun, if you ask me. But two, it's a fresher wound, if you will, at the base of the tree that can soak up water, right? So once you get it into the house, let it settle, but make sure it's got water right away. And keep that tree with a constant supply of water in its stand so that it can soak up, because it will continue to soak up moisture long after it's been cut. If it's allowed to dry out, if it's not watered, what you end up with is a tree that becomes hard and brittle and much more prone to catching fire should something go wrong.
It's amazing how fast a tree, a dry tree at that, but how fast those things go up, how hot it gets. It's intense.
In under 3 minutes, a live cut Christmas tree that's not been watered can absolutely put the room that it's in into what we call flashover. And what that means is the entire room is consumed with fire. It is an untenable or unsurvivable fire.
Yeah.
And that's how fast it goes. It is imperative that people make sure that their trees are watered.
How about positioning too, where you're putting any type of tree? What are some things you should be on the lookout for?
So whether it's artificial or whether it's a live cut tree, don't put it next to the fireplace.
But it looks so holiday-like.
It looks wonderful, doesn't it?
It does.
The same for garlands around it. Any combustible materials, you just want to make sure that that tree's got some space around it so that if something bad should happen, it's got a little bit of breathing room so that you're trying to keep those two things away, right? An ignition source and the tree. You want to keep them separate as much as possible.
Finally, just for heating wise too, other heat sources, I always think of if you put it by a heater register on the floor, like where I put the tree every year, I have to close that vent, I close it and I tape it off. Like I don't want any type of heat to hit it. And I've gone more to the fake trees and the later part of my life, but
Touche. You're just doing your best to make sure that that tree doesn't dry out unnecessarily quickly, right? Even if it's not hot air, I'm a dad. I watch my thermostat. I make sure that it's not too hot in the house.
Every
But
dad is right on the. I just heard it. I just heard it changed. I'm on it.
just the air blowing on the tree will dry it out. So it's, again, a call to make sure that that tree is being watered. If you can avoid putting it near a heat vent or even a cold air return, so much the better.
All right, turning our attention to the electric component of this, you kind of mentioned it off the top, but whether you're putting up lights, extension cords, I think of all the things that just surround with decorations.
Yeah,
You gotta be careful.
Yeah, the image that comes to mind is in Christmas Vacation, where I believe it's the grandma reaches around the corner in the garage, and there's extender after extender with lights, and all of a sudden everything turns on. Okay. When you look at the box of your Christmas lights, it'll tell you how many is the maximum that you can plug in a series.
Wait, there's a limit?
There is. There is. All you have to do is read the packaging that it comes with. So if people will do that and follow that recommendation, as a general rule, they'll be pretty safe. LED lights have come on the market and come down in price quite a bit recently. So any opportunity to use an LED light is an opportunity to make yourself just a touch safer, because those lights do not burn very hot at all.
Well, they draw less electricity as well, too.
Well, there's that green aspect to it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, any LEDs can certainly help reduce heat sources within the tree.
And if you are dealing with old extension cords, or you're using the power distros or anything like that, what would you recommend as you're bringing those out every year?
Yeah.
If you're only bringing them out once a year, whatever, because we like to hold on to things as a society. Some of us,
Right? 'Tis the season for extension cords.
love them.
Make sure that they're not frayed, they're not damaged in any certain way. Go through even your reused strings of Christmas lights. Go through them, make sure that there's no exposed wires, there's nothing working. Plug them in quick to make sure that they work, but go through the wire real quickly just to make sure that it's in good working order and it's not damaged in any shape or way. Try not to kink those wires. Kinking the wires can damage them on the inside, and then it starts to heat up that housing.
What is the cause of extension cord fires, or again, any type of power distribution? What's really causing the fires there? I know it's a loaded question, but
Yeah, well, it's a loaded question for an overloaded wire.
oh,
See what I did there? What happens is those wires are designed for a certain amount of voltage or current. And sometimes, whether it's Christmas and the holidays, or whether it's out in the garage, or whether it's anywhere else, we tend to plug sometimes too many things into our extension cords. So generally speaking, if there's a fire involving an extension cord or a power strip, it's because it's been overloaded.
All right. Well, that's good information there. I have a hard time asking this one because it's hard to think that there would be candles out there. But there's so many nice scented candles during the holiday season, and I'm one who burns them. So don't think that I'm like saying I'm over this. No, I'm right in there with doing candles, but it comes with a risk. And
It does,
ready.
and I'll own my part. In my home, we love candles. They smell amazing. The pine scented ones give off a very Christmassy feel,
It's the only one I have.
right? So what you want to make sure you're doing is putting them on a nice sturdy surface, first and foremost. You don't want it anywhere where it's going to get knocked off or bumped or anything like that. Second, make sure that when you're lighting it, you don't have loose clothing on, or if you're somebody who has longer hair, you're not allowing that hair to get down there by that candle. Third, never leave the room with a candle lit, right? If you're going to be in the room with the candle, that's fine because you can monitor it. But if you're going to leave the room, make sure that you blow that candle out so that it doesn't have an opportunity to get away from you.
Yeah, good information indeed. Finally, turning our attention to batteries, and specifically looking at lithium-ion batteries. It's a very interesting battery in itself, but there are dangers that come with that.
Yeah, so they're everywhere. They're prevalent nowadays. Every cell phone has one. Lots of kids are going to be getting gifts that have rechargeable batteries in them this year. There's a couple real easy things that we can do to make sure that we keep those batteries in top working order. First and foremost, use only the battery for the device that's
it's intended for.
Intended for,
yeah.
thank you. Intermingling batteries is a recipe for disaster. The same goes for chargers. So if you buy a hoverboard, say, it will come with a charger. Make sure that you're using that charger for that hoverboard. Intermingling the chargers can sometimes cause a fire. I've actually been to several that were as a result of that. Charge that battery up, but then once it's fully charged, go ahead and disengage the charger and unplug it from the wall. That way it doesn't continue to overheat and it doesn't continue to cause heat inside. The big problem with the lithium-ion batteries is they are capable of producing really an incredible amount of heat and electricity and power, but that's also what makes them dangerous, right? Last but not least, I'm going to pick on my teenage daughter because I've caught her once or twice. Don't charge them in your electronic devices that have rechargeable batteries. Don't do that in bed, under pillows, with blankets. Give them space to breathe, just like a candle or your Christmas lights or anything like that.
I remember Pelletieri saying here, we don't want to be throwing these away either because they can cause fire.
Yeah, so they don't belong in the normal recyclables or normal trash at all. Recycle them with in a place that actually does recyclable batteries.
And finally, smoke detectors. I'm just throwing it in there. It's the time of year that if you hadn't done it during a daylight savings time, why not give it a try right now?
I appreciate it. Smoke detectors are one of those things that we'll probably mention on every show. Every time I come in, I'm going to talk smoke detectors because they are your early warning. They pick up smoke at a very early stage of a fire, and they give off that audible warning to tell us, hey, something's going on. So any chance that you can get, make sure that your smoke detectors are up to date and in great working order.
All right, Mark, we've got some great safety tips from you. If people have any questions about stuff we've talked about or just anything towards for learning from the fire department, how can they get a hold of you or find more information?
So I'm at the fire department. Look me up online, or they can give me a phone call, send me an email. I'll get back to anybody and everybody that has a question about this stuff. I want everybody to be as safe as possible.
All right, Mark, thank you so much. Happy holidays to you, and stay safe.